Because of the pandemic, a lot of elementary, junior high, and high school students have moved into a virtual classroom. And of course, there are definitely challenges, and a lot of younger students are struggling with their course load. But re- as I reflect on, these changes for these younger students, and in particular for high school students, I actually think this might be a good thing for them in terms of preparation for college and university. And here's why. So in college and university, this is a different teaching method. I think for the most part, elementary and junior high and high school, we rely on the teaching method where the teacher is the one responsible to dictate what the students' progress should be, what they should be learning, and when they should be doing their homework and which type of homework. The teacher also spent a lot of time giving feedback and making sure that students are understanding the concepts and for the most part, classrooms in high school, it is a smaller cohort of students. So, in general, even where classes are up to 30 to 40 students, that is still much smaller than most classes in university and college. So having that close to one-on-one interaction with the teacher is very beneficial in terms of helping the students progress and making sure that the content is understood. So the shift in university and college is that not only are the class sizes a lot larger, but students can also easily skip classes. They can be easily engulfed in other commitments, whether it be social life or clubs or extracurriculars that might appear more fun, and the student, especially in first year, might want to focus on more instead of their academics. So it's very easy to lose track on academics, but also because the teaching method in university and college is so different in high school that there's instructors and professors isn't going to be tracking attendance. They won't be looking at each student to see how they can better understand a concept. Oftentimes, students might not get feedback on how to do better on assignments or exam. So they lose out on a lot of those tangible aspects of how to do well and how to progress better in terms of their coursework. And then the second thing, in high school, for the most part, teacher is the one that does the teaching. But in university and college, a lot of the teaching comes from the student. Although there are lectures, the student still has to spend a lot of time on the side to read up other additional and supplementary readings, to understand course content, to do a lot of additional work to make sure that they actually grasp onto the concepts themselves. And that's why I think students who are in high school right now in a virtual classroom, it might actually transition better in university and college in the upcoming 2 years, because they've gotten a head start on this new adjustment and shift. Of course, there will be students who are currently struggling with this method, and of course students are acknowledging that this is a very hard transition because they're not used to it yet, and it's not something that they expected. I think for the most part, high school teachers are still really trying to mimic what they would have done in an in-person classroom, but the reality is learning virtual changes how you teach and also how you learn. But the good side to this is for those high school students, they're getting a head start. So when they actually get into first year university or college, I think they'll be a lot better prepared compared to being in an in-person classroom for 4 years in high school, because these COVID virtual classrooms has really taught students on the importance of self-motivation and the importance of self-teaching, and they likely would have, found their stride in terms of what's the best way to learn content on their own, what's the best way to push themselves or schedule or organize their life to make sure that they stay on top of these course content. So I do think there is a benefit to the COVID virtual classrooms right now, and I sincerely do think that although it is difficult for the high school students now, what they don't realize is that a lot of first-year students struggle with the struggles that they're currently faced with. So in part, they are actually preparing themselves now and setting themselves for success once they get into university or college, because they would have had already half the life hacks and know what works best for their own learning style. They would have known how to organize their learning schedule. They will know how to be self-motivated and teach themselves the course content and what other tactics that they need in order to succeed. So I think COVID virtual classrooms is a blessing in disguise because it's giving students the opportunity to test out what they need to do in order to succeed in a learning environment where success really depends on the student's motivation to continually learn and to have that curiosity to learn. So for all those high school students out there that's listening to this, I think your days ahead is gonna get easier. I don't think once you get into university or college you're gonna find that much of a difference. I think for the most part, a lot of that first year struggles you've probably already encountered, and I think the road here will only get easier for you. So of course this is my opinion. Until you actually reach university or in college, you won't actually know. But I'm also interested to hear what other people think. Do you think, those who are currently in high school and is having to struggle with virtual classrooms because of the quadmester changes, of the need to learn themselves, do you think this is gonna better equip them when they get into university and in college, and that most often what first year students struggle with, do you think that will be still a struggle for these cohort of high school students entering universities and college in the next 2 years?